Hello everyone, my name's Hannah and today I wanted to share with you 5 beautiful weekly spread layouts that you can recreate in your own bullet journal. I know sometimes when you're looking at a blank page it can be really hard to find the inspiration for where to begin, so I hope you'll find this video helpful in sparking some creativity for you. In this video I'm going to be using my Winsor & Newton 45 half-pan Cotman watercolour set for decoration. With that I'm going to be using some Pro Art, Sablene and Proline paintbrushes. I'm also going to be using my Pigma Micron fine liner in 02 and my Pigma Micron brush pen as well. The first layout I wanted to share with you is a vertical layout. This is a great one for list making and especially good if you have more on your to-do list through the weekdays than on the weekends. For me, it's not ideal because I typically get more done at the weekends because I'm at university during the week. However, at times like this when I'm on a break from uni, it presents a really clean and simple layout that is quick to set up and start planning in. On this example that I'm showing you, the weekday boxes are 36 dots high and 9 dots wide, and the weekend boxes are 18 dots high and 9 dots wide. I used a ruler just to outline my boxes nice and neatly. This can look really cool if you do it without a ruler as well. If you add some like deliberately wobbly lines, it can look really organic, but I wanted it to look nice and crisp and clean for this, so I did use that time to use a ruler. To decorate these spreads a bit, you saw me use my watercolours to paint some leafy wreaths at the top of each box, which is where I'll write the date number with my brush pen. You'll see when I write in the dates that I did a really bad job of it, so I actually go in with a fine liner to correct those lines. Unless you're really proficient with a brush pen, as I am clearly not, I'd advise just using a fine liner for numbers because it's a lot easier. On the bottom of each box I use my brush pen again to write the first initial of each day of the week, just so I can keep up when the days start to merge into one during lockdown. So once the boxes are all outlined and you've added whatever decoration you choose, you are ready to start planning. In all of these spreads that I'm using today, I'm using my watercolours, as I said before. One thing that I would like to quickly interject and advise is that if you're using watercolours in your journal, try to use minimal water. Normally when you're using watercolours you'd paint on really thick paper, so like 300 GSM or higher, and that is definitely not the thickness of notebook paper. So the water can soak through and it can make it tear if you're not careful. So yeah, try to use very little water, just enough to get the paint moving, and you should be fine. Moving on from the vertical spread, I'd like to show you a horizontal weekly spread. This is good for to-do lists if you keep them quite basic or you don't mind going into 2 columns with your lists. It's also a really good one for people who journal more for keeping a record of what they've been up to and how they're feeling, since it offers a nice amount of space for you to write your entries. One thing you'll notice as well is that because there's space for 8 boxes and we only need 7, it's a really nice one to leave a bit of blank space for you to add a really nice decoration. In this example I used that extra space to paint a large leafy wreath, but you can add stickers, you can change where that space is on the page, and you can really use it however you want. It also gives you an equal amount of space for every day of the week. In this example, each horizontal box is 9 dots high and 27 dots wide, and I used my ruler again to make the lines nice and clean. To decorate, I painted a small leafy watercolour wreath in each box, and I used that wreath to circle the first initial of the days of the week. At the top of the left hand page I painted a large half wreath, and I just used that space to write the name of the month in, but it would also look really good left blank. Once I've finished outlining everything and decorating as much as I'd like, I can go ahead and start planning. The third spread that I'd like to share with you today is a grid layout. It's a really good use of space and it suits both to-do lists and journal entries, and it also leaves you some space to decorate as well. This is one layout I used a lot when I first started getting into bullet journaling, just because it's so easy to set up. You can literally just find the midpoint of the page horizontally and vertically and draw across in the middle of the page, and you've split it into 4 equal sections and then you're good to go. But for this example, I'm making it a bit more spaced out by leaving a small gap between each section so I can turn them into boxes. So each box is 19 dots high and 13 dots wide. In the top left hand corner of the page, I again used the empty space to do a big half wreath with watercolours. I find this is a really visually pleasing way to fill the space, but again, you can use that space for whatever you want. At the top of each of the boxes I painted a small leafy wreath, which I used to write the date in, and once again I tried using a brush pen for this, and once again I failed miserably. Turns out I didn't learn from my mistakes, but you can. Use a fine liner, it's so much easier. I don't know why I kept insisting on using a brush pen. With my brush pen I wrote week 24 inside the large wreath. Some people really like to keep track of what number week of the year we're in, so I wanted to show that that large wreath can be used for that purpose. But again, now that I'm done with outlining the boxes and decorating, the spread is all set up and ready to go. The next spread I want to show you is called a Ronin spread. It's a really good one for weeks when you're going to have a vastly different length of to-do list from one day to the next, and it's also great for weeks when you don't have time to sit and set up an elaborate spread. Literally all you have to do for this is write the day of the week and the date and then start planning. To prettify this spread a bit, I painted a leafy branch under the date header, but that's entirely optional. This kind of spread isn't particularly Instagrammable, but it is extremely functional. You know that you're always going to have as much or as little space as you need, so you can keep adding to the bottom of the list without fear of running out of space in the box. If you find one day you don't have time to sit and write in your planner, it's less obvious that you skipped a day when you don't have a large empty box as well. For really busy or really varied weeks, this is an excellent spread to have at your disposal. So, moving on to the final spread in this video, this is going to be a wheel spread. So to start this spread off, you want a drawing or just some decoration, or maybe the name of the month in the middle of 2 pages. In my case, I'm using a watercolour wreath, but there are some really artistic versions of this on Pinterest and Instagram. I've seen a lot of like koi fishes and stuff that look really good. I've then just got 7 evenly spaced lines coming away from the wreath, which splits the pages into sections for me to keep my to-do lists or journal entries. For the titles for each day of the week, I've just written the name of the day in joined up handwriting, and I'm using a ruler to carry on the line from the last letter into the wreath. I then used a circle stencil to add a little circle to the end of each line, into which I wrote the date, and the spread was complete. This type of spread could also work really well as a type of running spread, in that you can just add a new section at the start of a new day instead of setting all 7 up at the start of the week, and then you can just work your way around the circle, taking up as much or as little space as you need. So there you have it. 5 weekly spread layout ideas for you to use in your own bullet journal. If you do decide to recreate any of these, please tag me in your pictures on Instagram or on Twitter so I can see. My handle is @WhoopsIt'sHannah on everything, and all of my social media is also linked in the description below. I would also like to add that I have recently relaunched my Etsy shop where I sell some printable bullet journal spreads, so be sure to have a look there for further inspiration, or if you'd like to easily use my spreads in your own bullet journal. Other than that, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you found it useful. If you have any feedback at all, please feel free to share it in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, leave a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and thank you for watching. Have a lovely day, and goodbye!